all of you except for Melissa. Oh, we're being recorded. So go ahead and turn off your cameras so that we can get the bandwidth. And we are on Facebook. Good morning, Facebook. It's a lovely cloudy day in Tucson. We may get some more rain. We are talking this morning before we came on Facebook about fall. So we want you all to think about how happy you are that fall's coming. My name is Eileen. I am happy to be the facilitator of the fourth trimester Tucson Village. We are a nonprofit that supports families all over the state of Arizona and all over the nation. If you can come and join us so that you don't feel alone as a family. Excuse me. We are a group of moms and dads and doulas and midwives and therapists that really want to support a family so that they don't feel alone and their child can get the support that they need. So we're just happy that you are here. I also want to tell you that fourth trimester has a number of villages. We have 6 altogether. So please visit our Facebook page and our website. And we also have an ecosystem summit coming up at the end of September. That is a 2-day summit, and we are working on CEUs if you need those. So enough about our fourth trimester. Right now, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker. I'm very excited that we have an occupational therapist that's here in Tucson. They also have an office in Phoenix that provides services specifically for younger children. And this is Melissa Duncan. She graduated from the University of South Florida with a bachelor's in health sciences, and then she went on to get her master's in occupational therapy. She has experience working with children and adults in a variety of settings, including schools, early intervention, hand therapy, inpatient and outpatient, and rehabilitation. She works with children and their families to facilitate the developmental milestones and the return of function. I think that that's something that we maybe don't talk as much about in terms of how to help a family if there is any kind of accidental injury to an area of a child. Melissa is dedicated to her work in pediatrics and passionate about working with children and their families. Melissa has a special interest in advanced training in pediatric feeding. I want to also add that Melissa, as I mentioned, is with Little Ruse, and this is not necessarily to have you hire her, but what I want you to do is understand that there are resources out there. And if you can't find the resource that you need, please reach out to myself or to Melissa so that we can get you to a resource in terms of an occupational therapist. Okay, so we're going to talk about purposeful play and how getting down on the floor or talking to your child is going to help in developmental milestones. So Melissa, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hello, hi everyone. Like Eileen said, my name is Melissa. I'm an occupational therapist and I work with a company based here in Arizona, in Phoenix and in Tucson called Little Ruse. And today we will be talking about playing with your child, what that means, purposeful play, and just some creative ideas that I have come across that I frequently use with my families in home and in the community. So I have a presentation that I made for everyone, just so everyone can follow along, and I included some pictures of what these different play activities look like. And then at the end, if anyone wants the presentation, either I will connect it with Eileen or you can reach out to me and I will email it to you guys so that you guys all have a copy of it. Because I won't be going over everything, but there are some good details in there. So bear with me as I share my screen. All right, can everyone see my screen okay?
Yes.
I think I'm just going to leave it in this form instead of going to the present form. Let me see if that makes a difference. Okay. All right. So playing with your child, some purposeful play and creative ideas. Like I mentioned earlier, and like Eileen mentioned, I'm an occupational therapist. I work here in Tucson. I provide in-home and community-based services. And although I'm an occupational therapist, I'm really a specialist in child development. So today is really just looking at some developmental milestones and then how you can support those developmental milestones with some purposeful play. So what is purposeful play? Purposeful play sounds more complicated than it is. It truly is just playing with purpose, playing with intention. I think that there are small tweaks that we can do and that families can do to help our children. Playing with what we already have at our fingertips and just making minor changes and minor adjustments just to make it a little bit more purposeful and a little bit more interactive with our child. I frequently get, how much should I play with my child a day? And there's no strict time, you need to do this many minutes a day, but I think it's helpful as they get, newborn stage is hard because they're sleeping all the time, but as they get a little bit past the newborn stage, I recommend about 30 minutes of purposeful play. And what that is just adult directed play a day. And so that can be 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening, 15 minutes here and there, but just really taking just a few moments out of your day within your routines and just playing with your child with a little bit more purpose and intent and directing their play. Purpose, adult directed play is important just as much as independent play too. So I want you to keep that in mind as well. And then this is just a quote that I thought was nice. Mr. Rogers, play is often talked about as if it were a relief from serious learning, but for children, play is serious learning. As an occupational therapist, I frequently get asked, what do I do with kids? What is their occupation as a child? And their occupation as a child is play. And play is serious, and it's how they learn and how they grow and how they develop. So I like that quote, so I wanted to share it with you all. Okay, and so my presentation will lay out, I will be going over 3 months at a time, and we'll be listing some developmental milestones of what they will begin or emerging to do within this time frame. And then after that, I will then give some play ideas on how to facilitate the development of those milestones. So like I said, 0 to 3 months, your baby's going to be sleeping a lot. And so really at this age is just looking at starting to enjoy some face-to-face interactions with people. Tummy time, of course, is important, as well as this. It can start when you get home. They will begin moving their arms and legs and batting at toys. And so some play activities in this age range. The first toy that I say is, you are the best toy. At this newborn stage, really, their vision isn't that well. They can only really see 12 inches. So anything past that will be blurry. So when you're holding them in your arms or in your legs, make sure that they're nice and close to you. And you're going to be making so many nice face-to-face interactions, smiling, cooing, talking. They're going to be absorbing all of that. And that is just such great foundation skills for communication and social and bonding. At this age, they're not holding any toys. So you really are the best toy, and you will be way more entertaining than any toy that you could give them. And then tummy time, I'm going to show you some pictures of some pictures in the next slide of some different ways that we can do tummy time. It doesn't need to be as boring as just going on the floor. There's so many different creative positions and holdings that we can do to also help facilitate just looking at us, that back to face-to-face interactions. Also at this age, black and white pictures are important. You know, they're not seeing in color yet, or they're just starting to near the end. So near the end of 3 months. So black and white pictures is what's going to be motivating for them. Water play, super easy, but just taking a little pan and filling it with water and having a baby just tap their hands in it. At this age too, they're going to just start towards the end of the 3, they're going to start batting at toys. So I suggested just dangling some toys above their head. It doesn't need to be anything specific. I say fuzzy socks, a shower loofah. It could be measuring cups, measuring spoons, just dangling it over their head and just see if you can get any interaction for batting at toys. Okay, and then here are the different tummy time positions. So as you can see here, all of these positions really are focusing on that face-to-face interaction. Mom and baby are looking at each other. They're having a really special bond, and they're really forming the prereqs for communication and social skills. And all of these positions are great for core strengthening and later on reaching other developmental milestones. And then in this last picture, in this stage 2, babies are going to start moving their arms and legs. So I think it's fun to put something against their legs or against their feet for them to kick after. It gives them really nice feedback. They'll enjoy it, hearing it, feeling it, give them some body awareness when their feet touches it. And they're going to like that. So putting a metal pan there, tissue paper, anything just for them to kick against will be great feedback for them, and they'll really enjoy it. Okay, the next stage is 4 to 6 months old. At this age, they're going to start using their hands to explore with toys. They're going to start babbling a little bit more. They're going to be enjoying eye contact, and they're going to start rolling. Towards the end, they're going to be rolling from their back to their tummy. At 5 months, they're going to be rolling from their tummy to their back. And then they're also going to be starting to bring their hands together. So some different play activities. The first thing I mentioned is just talk, talk, and talk. Walk around the house, narrate everything that you are doing. Babies are absorbing it, and they're learning so much from you, just the way that your voice is fluctuating, the way you're talking, the communication, they're going to love it. And like I said before, it never changes, but you will always be the most entertaining toy. So just use it to the best that you can, and just start talking a lot. Another activity I like in this area is this little piggy. So when the baby's lying on the back, you can take the baby's toes, start wiggling their toes while you sing. And this will be great for helping them develop that body awareness of where their toes are. And then also they're going to be reaching for their feet at this age too. So reaching hand to feet play, which is also great core strengthening as well. Next slide, I have some pictures. So the first picture is the picture of just what this little piggy game can look like. Again, look at just the mom and the baby having great interactions, and then really facilitating some of that hands to feet play. The next picture is ribbon play. So at this stage, babies love anything that's stringy, ribbons, cords, anything that really has string. So I recommend too is something at home that you can do is just take a box, a laundry basket, a cardboard box, tape some ribbon or some string, and just let your baby kick at it, reach for it, bat at it, start to grasp and pull it. It encourages babies to swipe at the objects. It helps develop some great motor skills as well. Okay, so the 7 to 9 month old developmental milestones. The baby's going to begin crawling here. So they're going to be a lot more active. They're going to be moving a lot more. You're going to see a little bit more control as they're rolling. It's not going to see as so much floppy. It's going to be more controlled. They're going to be interested in interacting with you, with others, playing with colorful objects. They will move on the floor to go get a toy. They'll play on their tummy a little bit more. So some play activities that I like to encourage here is blowing some raspberries. I mentioned this, I think in the previous one, but at this age, it's fun because the baby might start imitating you back. So blowing raspberries on their skin encourages the baby to make their own noises, to try and imitate you, imitate the noises and imitate the lip movements that you are doing, which helps build early communication skills. And here's a little teething tip as well, because this is going to be a teething stage. What you can do is you can take a wet baby washcloth, put it in the freezer for about 15 minutes or so, just before it gets frozen and hard, and then let your baby mouth it and explore with it, and it'll help a lot with teething. And then in the 7 to 9 month old age range, they're going to start bringing their hands together, like I mentioned. So the song and nursery rhyme patty cake is going to be great. It'll work on having them clap their hands, bringing their hands together, which is so important for later skills as they get older. Using both hands together during play at this age is just the beginning. Older bilateral hand skills is stuff like using scissors to cut, using strings to bead. So right now it's really just the beginning of using our hands, bringing them together in midline and clapping. Another game I said was copy baby. So start doing what your baby's doing. You know, your baby's so interested in you, but they're going to be moving a lot more and doing a lot more things at this age. So if you see your baby taking blocks, banging them together, copy what baby's doing, repeat what baby does, and baby might copy what you're doing then too. And that'll be a beautiful just interaction of baby does something, you do something, and then baby copies, which is exactly how conversations start, communication skills. One person does something, someone reacts, and so on and so forth. And then because they are going to be crawling, I gave 2 great activities, crawling over pillows or a human obstacle course. Human obstacle course, you're just lying on the floor, having baby crawl over and on top of you. You can end it with a really big hug. Something else too is just crawling over pillows, great strengthening for the baby. And then here is the first picture, the top left is, I included the YouTube link in case you guys want to watch it. It is 3 babies and their caregivers doing the patty cake song. And it's super cute. They're taking their hands. You'll start it with you doing hand over hand, helping the babies do the movements. And then at the end, seeing if they can start doing the movements by themselves. It doesn't look like the picture on the left is fully loading, but what that is it's a scarf box. So what that picture is, it's just a Kleenex box. I have a Kleenex box right here. And then what you can do is you stuff it with your scarves. And babies will love just pulling. I mean, you can even just do it with Kleenexes, but babies will love just pulling it out, using both of their hands, pulling and taking things out. And that'll be great for developing their motor skills, using both hands together. And then here's a fun little picture of a baby crawling over a pillow mountain, is what I like to call it. Like I said, great for developing those core muscles, upper body, total body strengthening going on in that picture. Okay, so now we are at the 10 to 12-month-old age range. So they're just going to continue moving more and more. You're going to be seeing cruising along furniture. You're going to be clapping their hands. So it's just starting in the previous age, more consistent now. They're going to be using their hands to communicate what they want, what they need. They want to be picked up, reaching their hands up. You might start hearing their first word. You might start seeing some of their first steps towards the 12, but that's a little bit early on. And they're going to enjoy listening to music and dancing and moving and listening to those beats. And then also too, in this stage, this is when I love container play. So putting things in and taking things out. Baby's going to be dumping a lot during this stage. So it's going to be a lot of cleanup for you, but that's great skill building for them. Putting things in, dumping it out, and just seeing that cause and effect of what that means. So here are some of the play activities I just briefly went over. First one I list is bubbles. Bubbles is something that I frequently have in my therapy bag. Or when I say frequently, I mean it's always in my therapy bag. I use bubbles a lot. Bubbles are so great at just calming and regulating the nervous system if a baby's upset. Gives them something really nice just to visualize, to look at, and to focus on that can help calm them. It's a really good coping tool that I like to use. But then also too, it's great just for play, reaching out, trying to pop the bubbles, using their hands, using their feet, whatever it may be, laughing and giggling, and great bond between you and baby. Baby wants more bubbles. Baby's going to look at you and want more bubbles. Maybe try and take the bubbles, indicating that the baby wants more bubbles. And then you blow bubbles. It's a great interaction. This stage 2, singing songs like head, shoulders, knees, and toes helps learn parts of their body, and helps them using their hands to imitate those gestures and those motions that you're doing. Wheels on the Bus is another classic that I also love. And then too, I love outdoor play. I mean, I just list outdoor play here, but really outdoor play can begin when they're much, much younger. Going outside, feeling the different textures, the grass, exploring new sights and smells, really can be done throughout their development. But right here, they might have a little bit more fun just exploring with it and feeling those new textures and experiences. The next one is hide and seek. So this is when baby is going to love peekaboo, hide and seek. So hiding a toy under a blanket during playtime. This is great because it teaches baby object permanence, that when something is out of sight doesn't mean it's gone. Same thing with parents. Just because you're out of sight doesn't mean it's gone. So this is a great age to start playing some of those hide and seek games. And then because baby is cruising along furniture, and you might start seeing some first steps, I included playing with a push toy. So they sell so many different types of push toys online and in stores, but really it can be as simple as just taking a cardboard box, a laundry basket, filling it with something heavy, and then allowing baby to push it. That'll start help facilitate taking some of their first steps, great strengthening, standing balance as well. And then let's look at the next slide for some pictures of what I have. So that first picture on the top left is the peekaboo working on that object permanence. Just because something's out of sight doesn't mean it's gone. And then to the right, that is a baby playing with what I would call a sensory bottle. And you can make this at home. I do this with kids of all ages, starting this young, going up to 16. And these sensory bottles for a kid at this age is fun because you can put anything inside. You can put rocks. You can put, I think they have popcorn kernels in the top left, marbles, pom-poms, sand, rice, anything, water, add some food coloring. Anything can really go in there. Just make sure the lid's screwed on tight. You might want to tape the lid too if your baby's starting to explore with bottle tops. But playing with the sensory bottle is great. They're going to be taking it with their hand, looking at it visually, playing with it, shaking it, hearing the noises that it makes. It might roll away. I think in this second picture right here, when the baby's on hands and feet, the bottle is rolling away from the baby. So baby's encouraged to go move and go get it. And also it's just can be really entertaining. So if you just need a couple of minutes and you want your baby to just play independently for a little bit, sensory bottles are great for that as well. And then as they get older, I use sensory bottles like this for some of my older kids for a coping skill. So it can be just great. That visual stimulation is great at calming. Think about like a lava lamp, just taking your worries off and focusing on this and just calming and re-regulating your body, bringing it back down to a baseline. So that's how I use sensory bottles with older kids as well. And then the bottom left picture is a picture of a baby just dropping balls into a little container and dumping things out. So you're doing a lot more of this in and out container play, putting things in, dumping it out again and again. You can use any objects in the house. You can use like large Velcro hair rollers. You can use balls. You can use measuring cups, whatever it may be. But this is a great stage for that container play as well. Okay, so now we're at the 13 to 18th month old age range. Your baby's going to be walking more. That's super steady, probably with some falls. They're going to be using more words. They're going to be using their fingers to feed themselves. They might start exploring with the spoon and just using more objects to play. So at the end, I said throw a ball. They're going to be using a lot more objects during their play. So the first one I listed is scooping and dumping water in bath time. This is a great prereq for spoon use. So when you take something and you're scooping and you're dumping, it's the exact hand motion as you would use to use a spoon. So doing it during play, during bath time, taking a cup, scooping and dumping. This is also a great age range to start exploring with some coloring. So, and messy play with paint. So I put using yogurt or applesauce as paint. So let your baby use their hands to explore or use a paintbrush to paint with these foods on their tray or on a paper plate. This is a great age for that, and they'll probably really enjoy it as well. And then I say the kitchen cabinet explorer. So this is when your baby's going to be moving a lot more. They're going to be getting into cabinets. So instead of worrying about keeping all cabinets inaccessible, maybe if there's room, maybe you can clear out one cabinet and just put baby-friendly kitchen supplies inside. So putting bowls, containers, wooden spoons, saucers, measuring cups. And then that way you're in the kitchen and baby's in the kitchen too. And you're both doing kitchen activities. And baby's gonna love copying what you're doing, and they're gonna love having their own space as well. So the top left picture is some of that pouring. So you can do pouring in a bathtub, or right here, this is a cute idea that I liked as well, just taking a big bin, a bunch of different size cups and just working on that pouring. Big cups, small cups, but it's still the same pouring action, which is great for facilitating using utensils and holding on tools. for utensil use, and then later, and then also for coloring and using other tools during play. And then the bottom left is a little boy stacking large yogurt containers potentially. But I loved this idea because it just shows you that really all of these toys can be found in your home. So anything can be used to stack these large yogurt containers. If you have small cans, if you have medium-sized cans, baby can pick up the can and stack it. And this age, I really like using a can too, because it has some weight to it. So it gives them a lot more awareness of where their body is, and helps them move their body a little bit slower to stack and be a little bit more precise with those movements, because there's some weight to it. So that's why I like stacking with cans. But like I said, you can use these yogurt containers. If you have different size kitchen bowls that nest in each other, maybe you can flip them over, see if you can stack some of them. Really, there's a huge variety of ways that you can stack using so many different household objects. And then this picture over here to the right is, I love doing this, and it's a lot more, you'd be surprised how motivating it is to wrap toys or objects in tinfoil. The aluminum foil, it catches your eye, it's shiny, it's bright. And then, having a baby manipulate using their hands to pull the tinfoil off, see what's hidden. It's unwrapping a present. So who doesn't like unwrapping presents like that? And your baby will love it. And so that is a great activity as well. Help facilitate those fine motor skills. And then as you can see right here, baby is using both of their hands beautifully during that play. Okay, so this is the last age range that I go over, but this is the 19 to 24-month-old age. So just leading up to 2 years old. At this age range, just developmentally, you might see some more climbing on some low furniture. Towards 2, you might see some beginning to jump. They're going to be talking more, pointing to objects, and then feeding as well, increasing their variety of foods, and enjoying new textures like grass or sand after multiple exposure. And I say multiple exposure because just like foods, kids need to be introduced to something multiple times before we know if they actually like it. So for foods, if you give your baby an avocado one time and they refuse it, doesn't mean they don't like it. They might need 8 to 10 more exposures to that type of food before we know if they actually don't like it. It's a crazy fact, but I think it's super interesting. I love sharing that with parents. Just in their brain, cognitively and developmentally, they might not like the food. It just might be so new to them that they don't know what to do with it. And so they might need a lot more of those exposures before we know if they actually like or dislike something. So it's just helpful to keep that in mind as well. And then as you see in this age range, it's just a lot more playing with different types of materials. So using tools, using crayons, the earlier previous age range, they're just exploring with those tools, using a spoon. This age range, they're going to be more confident with using those tools and coloring with paint, with chalk. And then some other activities I do list here is making at-home Play-Doh. Play-Doh is so good and so interesting for kids. They love using both of their hands to explore in it. Can be really motivating to putting the dough into different size containers, dumping it out, using cookie cutters to make stamps in the Play-Doh. Freeze dance is great. Dancing and moving their body is great for following directions, and then also just that coordination. So here are just some ways that I like to use household products for play. So in this age range, they're going to be using their precision, but their eye-hand coordination is much more advanced than what it was previously. So putting cotton balls into water bottles, putting a Q-tip into a smaller sized opening. You can even, for the cotton balls, you can even just take a coffee tin, cut out, you can take a container like this, cut the lid, and then have them poke it in there. So it doesn't need to be a water bottle. And then they're going to be starting to be interested in puzzles and shapes. So this is a super easy at-home puzzle that I do with my families frequently. It's taking cardboard, making those simple shapes, and then cutting out those shapes and having them match. If you want, you can even add a little Velcro piece so it sticks when you match. Same thing with the bottom right picture. It is printed out animals, glued on cardboard, and then cut in half, and having kids make those matches, those visual motor skills, looking at the matches and making them and using both hands to make those matches. And then another gross motor activity that I like at this age is bowling. So as I mentioned earlier, they're going to be using balls, throwing balls. So let's make it purposeful. So they're not just throwing balls all over the place, but instead they can be throwing balls at an object. So you can set up some water bottles, some boxes, and have them try and toss the bowling ball or the ball into the objects. And then you and your toddler can then take turns going back and forth. And so now right here, I just list some resources that I have come across here in Tucson. So like I mentioned before, I work at Little Goose Pediatric Therapy. I'm an occupational therapist. I am in the Tucson area. I work in home and in the community. So if you have any questions about what OT is, what OT does, or have some questions developmentally that you want to get checked out, you can always reach out to me or to my company, and we can definitely get those answered for you. Another great resource I have in the community is the Oro Valley Children's Museum. So under 12 months, it's free. And then also at the Oro Valley location, it's free on the first and third Tuesday of each month, which I always encourage families to take advantage of that. The Oro Valley Children's Museum is great. It's really geared towards kids 4 years and under. If you haven't experienced it, it's fun. There's so many different stations. There's a book station, there's a climbing station, there's painting, puzzles. So it's a great resource. Hannon.org is a great resource for communication and speech development that I frequently recommend to families as well. They have a newsletter that they send out and tips on their site just to help facilitate that social communication, the language development, and just some great strategies and resources there too. And then Eileen here at fourth trimester in Tucson introduced me to the Tucson Moms Facebook group, and it is super helpful. They list great resources in the area. They ask great questions, and I think if you're a caregiver and you just want to know some questions or need some feedback, I think that is a great safe Facebook group to do it at. Another resource is Parents as Teachers. Parents as Teachers is another great resource for families for young children. Pathways.org. They have free tools to help parents maximize their child's motor, sensory, and communication development. So I frequently recommend them as well if you just want to look at some developmental checklists, although, take it with a grain of salt because it's over several months, but they do list some great expectations, some great games to play that you can carry on at home. And then if anyone has any questions, let me know. Oh, I see there's some chats. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I have not seen these. Camille, my daughter was quick crawling and started walking at 9 months. Yeah, that's early. Don't see that very often. And my kids love shaving cream and snow, baking soda and conditioner. We put glitter in it with cotton balls. They love it. Then we had them scoop the cotton balls and put it in the small cup or bowl. That sounds so fun. I love using shaving cream. Shaving cream is a great sensory tactile exploration to do with kids, especially when you're confident that they're not going to put it in their mouth. I love using shaving cream. I've not done the snow though. With the glitter and the cotton balls, I'm definitely stealing that idea. Does anyone have any questions?
Melissa, I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
This is Eileen. It is difficult to get tummy time to get started. Babies just are like, So you showed some great pictures of different ways that you can accomplish that. Why is tummy time so important to tiny people?
Yeah, well, newborns, they're not going to like being put on their tummy. That is just plain and simple. So no baby enjoys tummy time, but I included those different pictures because there's so many different ways that you can do it. And also under those pictures, I listed a site that included a lot more other variety of positions because tummy time does not need to just be baby on the floor. It can be on your chest, on your back, or like this. So there's really a variety of ways that you can do it. You can frequently change it. And then also too, when they're in that newborn stage, they're really not going to be tolerating it for that long. So that's something to keep in mind as well. So you're going to be working up to a couple of minutes, but when they're a newborn, it's only just going to be really short bursts. And when they're done with it, they're done with it and move on to something else or change the position. But tummy time is so important for so many different reasons. I like tummy time because it just, first, it helps develop that core strength and everything that your body, your arms, your legs is really coming from your trunk and your core. And we need a strong core, neck and head muscles to reach those later milestones.
And why is it important to change a baby's position? For example, if the baby's awake, should she always be on her back, or should she always be on her side, or should she always be on her tummy? Why is it important to change the position of a newborn?
Yeah, great question. So it is important to change baby's position always, because if we keep them in one position for too long, then we might see some flattening on their head, or you might see them start preferring one side over the other, which then can lead to something called torticollis, which becomes tightening of the neck muscles. So if you feel like you are carrying your baby a lot to this right side, start switching baby and carrying it to the left side. Another great idea that I also like suggesting as well is if baby is always sleeping like in this position, switch baby so baby's sleeping in this position. It's strengthening both sides of their body, and we really want both sides of their body to grow and develop equally. And we really don't see it. I know a lot of families say, really early on, I think my baby's right-handed. They really like using their right hand as early as like 12 months, but really baby, we don't want to see like a hand dominant until school age. So around 5 years. So we really want to keep encouraging both sides of body growing and developing up until then.
And the other thing that you brought up that I just think is so important is all the items that you mentioned that are in the home. And in addition to the containers that you talked about, for older children, maybe the 24 months, you're going to use toilet paper rolls and paper towel rolls and, tape them to the wall and put a marble in one end. any kind of boxes to introduce, like you were saying, the puzzle that you put together with the shapes. There are boxes that are square. There are containers that have kind of a rounder look. Those are also things that are around the house. I think that all the toys out there, or the ones that I bought for my children when they were little, were amazing. But when I started to understand through home visitation that things are in your home and you can do it all, and all those ideas that you gave people are low or no cost. And I think that that's really important for us to remember, that a child really just wants to be with you. It's not about the fancy bells and whistles. So
Yeah, I agree. I said that during the first age, but really you are the best toy and the most entertaining and the most motivating. And really at these ages, we really want to just foster a lot of that social communication, that back and forth play. Like I said, independent play is important. Them being able to play by themselves is important, but it's also important to facilitate and develop that back and forth, which is so much more rewarding than playing with the toy. And then another suggestion I do have too with toys, like I said, I have, if anyone wants to look too, I have a Pinterest page. And on that Pinterest page, I have an area, I don't know, a little group that has toys at home that I just pin so many toys at home. So I can share that with everyone as well. I'll look at my Pinterest pages after this. But on that, I list, and you can feel free to look at my other boards as well, but I list a lot of DIY toys that you can do at home that are so easy. And it's really just as easy as, taking a water bottle and taking some cotton balls and putting cotton balls in. But I think too, I wanted to go over this presentation because it's about you have these tools, you have everything at your fingertips, but knowing when to present them to the child is what can sometimes be confusing. So that's why I like having, I listed those activities and then listed the developmental expectations, because sometimes, giving a baby a toy too early on, they're not going to know how to play with it. And then also too, is I always recommend to all my families, never buy new toys. Just don't do it. There's no reason to. You can go to Goodwill. The Oro Valley Goodwill is really good for children's toys. I find a lot of great toys there. So if you do want to buy some toys, I recommend going to Goodwill. There's really no reason to go buy something new, because there's so many toys out there, and it's can be such a marketing gimmick as well. So I like using what's in the house or buying something that's been used before.
And I think one of the things that you talked about in terms of sensory, you may find that your child doesn't like the feel of aluminum foil. And you may find that your child doesn't like the feel of anything on his feet. You may find that your child doesn't like the tags in his shirts. Those are all things for you to, further investigate. Like you said, with the avocado, was it just because it was that time? Or was it because those are things that really do bother your child? And find out, maybe there's something else I can utilize, or maybe I should talk to my pediatrician. I think when in doubt, always talk to a professional to get more information, because there may be times that you do need a Melissa in your home. And I want to encourage people to remember that there is all this resource and help out there.
Yeah, certainly. And what OT, what I do, I guess I never explained exactly what occupational therapy is. I know for kids, some families and some people don't know what it is and what we do to help support the child's development. But I really look at a lot of different areas of their development. Of course, I am a specialist in all areas of development, but in terms of OT, what I really specialize is I look at their sensory development, how they take in all of the information from their environment and their ability to participate in those daily routines. So is the tag so itchy on their back that they can't even play? Or do they have sensitive, in terms of feeding, if they're really sensitive in their mouth and they can't feed, or they're very adverse to different types of textures? Do they not like touching toys because they have sensitive tactile touch? Are they hesitant to go in the swing? Is moving really fearful for them? Do they become very upset and they can't calm down after? So I look at that sensory aspect. And then I also look at other areas too. So how they participate in those daily routines, using utensils to feed, feeding themselves, participating in dressing, tolerating bath time, tolerating diaper changes, really all of that, on top of using both of their hands to play as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't think a lot of us understood what an occupational therapist does. So I really appreciate your longer explanation. And I do think I'm a strong proponent of early intervention. I know sometimes people feel that they did something wrong. And it really is about a child's temperament. And the sooner we can understand their development and their likes and dislikes, the sooner we can focus on their strengths and kind of work with those. Are there any other questions or anything in the chat that we need to address? So as we're closing, I want to remind everyone of a couple things. We meet the fourth Wednesday of the month at the Tucson Village. And next month, I'm very excited about the fourth trimester ecosystems summit, which is going to be on the fourth Tuesday and Wednesday of the month. The information is on our Facebook page, and it's maternal and child health. And in a changing world, the last 2.5 years have really changed many, many things. So our village then is going to be a part of the summit. So all of you that have sent out requests for information to be on our call will get the link, and I will promote it as normal. It's just that we're going to be at 9 o'clock in the morning so we can participate in an incredible presentation about self-care. There is a link in the chat. And I really wanted to thank Melissa before we go off Facebook. We're going to, if you want to join us off Facebook, if you have specific questions that you want to ask personally, please join us off Facebook. Otherwise, I will see you all in a month. Recording